good morning, and good morning. Yes, I'm 2 minutes late. I tell you, Monday morning sometime I'm kind of rough for this little sister here. It's like running around trying to make sure I'm ready for not just the day, but the week. And the week starts early. I've already been up and doing some correspondence and sending out some copies of some newsletters. But I hope your weekend went well. How did it go? What did you do? Who did you see? Did you get into the Powerball? You know, the whole rich thing. Did you do that? Did anybody do that? Let's see if somebody be saying, yeah, I'm rich today. But I didn't do that. I didn't. I really took my own advice to say that my odds were just too high for me just to give away my money. But, I'm not saying I won't do it. It's just that I haven't done it yet. But I'm hoping that my sisters, brothers, colleagues, whatever, if you get rich, learn how to take care of it. Know what to do with it. Don't spend it all as soon as you get it or within 5 years, which is the statistics that says that you will not have it. But today we're going to talk about towers. And I remember I was looking back through some old pictures of and some weren't not that old, but then there were others of New York, where I'm from. And I'm from upstate originally, Albany, but my husband was from Queens, so I lived there a while too, and got just really excited about what big city living is all about, and it is fun. There's constantly things to do, but I just remember looking around and looking up all the time, just at such large buildings that towered so far above who I was. I just felt like I might have been a bug on the street. I was just surrounded by all those buildings. And if anyone's ever been to New York, you know what I'm talking about. The buildings go up very, very high. And when I worked in New York, I used to work actually some days, depending on what, my bosses need me to do. I would be in the city, and I remember being on the 83rd floor. Sometimes I think we had two offices there, in the Twin Towers, and I just remember being in those towers and looking at all that could be seen, just in terms of, it was just an observatory. I remember looking out of one window, sections of windows, and I could see the Statue of Liberty. I could see, Staten Island, and see, the rest of the vista of New York. And I was just absolutely blown away that, there was just such beauty to look at such high levels. And then, so when looking back through those pictures this weekend, all I could think of is we see towers all the time. It could be that we're constantly looking up at. It could be, the people that we've met that could make us think that we're looking at somebody that's high up above us, or it could be the building. It could be that we've experienced something where we actually have been up in a Ferris wheel, and so we've been a part of that, what I call that tower, and we see it as being something vitally important. Good morning, Loretta. How are you? Good to have you in the space this morning. Today, our word is going to be tower. The fact that our lives are probably sometimes held up or held down by the towers that we've been involved in. I think the little write up I wrote for this is that with a tower, sometimes our lives are just, give us some heights that we didn't know we could make it to, or give us an area where we have opportunity to see vistas that we didn't know we were going to see. Or number three, of course, it says that we are just standing steady, we're upright, and that is us. Currently, if we're still seeing and doing and moving and all of those things that say that we're a part of what is the living of our lives, then that's a great thing. That's a great opportunity for us to say that we're taking on. So when I think about a tower, I'm saying, well, what is a tower? What does it say according to, Marion? Marion, the dictionary, it says a tower is a tall building, either freestanding or forming part of a building, such as a church. I'm always fascinated by churches. It says, or it could be a castle that rise above or reach a great height, and it towers above everything else. I remember, always wanting to go to the Empire State Building, and then the Sears Tower in I believe it's in Chicago. All of those things, the Golden Gate Bridge. Just looking at things were just so tall, but they were monumental. And sometimes we meet people that are tall to us and monumental, but they put on their clothes just like we do. They brush their teeth, they bathe, they do all the things that we do. But for some reason, we give them tallness. Now I'm not going to say that I wouldn't be, happy to meet and greet, Denzel or Oprah or, the president of the United States. I'll do it. I'll do it. And I'll walk away with an excitement that I did it, but not that I've, gained anything more about who I am. I've just got the 5 flash minutes to see who they are, and that's only temporary. And sometimes when we have this thing as a tower, we realize that, there's an up to it and then there's a down to the tower. Especially if you've ever gone up to in a high building, you take those elevators up and they got to come down because you can't stay up there. Now some people live in penthouses, they live high up above the earth, and that's a good thing for them. No, as they say, no big deal. But even when I look at my multi-level home, I'm thinking, now, pretty soon you're going to have to start thinking about getting down on one level. So far I'm still so good, but you realize that after a while, not so much that the building itself needs to come down, you just need to come down. You realize the importance of your own stability. So when I break this word down and I first go and ask you, are you stuck? Have you ever been stuck in your own tower, or stuck in someone else's tower, or stuck in a physical tower? It's possible. It's possible. We get stuck a lot of times into thinking that, we are the top tier. We're not. We can go to the highest and still fall, So when I break my word down today, I start with the T. And for some reason, I don't know why I wrote it like this, but I have my T as tumble. Because I am a true believer that what goes up comes down, Not saying that I would fall all the way to the bottom, but there is a possibility that you could tumble. And it says fall suddenly, clumsily, or, headlong, head first. To fall down from someplace that's tall. Many people have probably experienced that, those that have, done wrong and fallen from grace, or done some things that certainly society says, well, that's just crazy. In fact, I was listening this morning where they were, able to, through DNA, discover the identity of a man who they believed had been killing women on Long Island. And he had his day profile as an architect, but he used burner phones to, kind of think that no one could trace him. But the interesting thing is that they use new DNA and new traceable opportunities to say that, you're going to fall, you're going to tumble. And he went to his Manhattan business and they arrested him, Thursday night. So, sometimes we have to think about what we do in our towers, and will it bring us down if other people knew about what we did? In some instances, that's true. So to tumble certainly says that we fall suddenly, we fall down, something could collapse, or we fall over, or we pitch ourselves. Have you ever seen anybody pitch themselves forward? That's a possibility. And they said they fall just head first. They just go all the way down. And some people in their falling, they could collapse. So I always think about, people who take a fall. It could be a physical fall, could be an emotional fall. You wonder what happened. You always wonder what happened to somebody, and life doesn't always give us all the answers. Sometimes all we have are the results. When we see somebody that we felt was a towering individual, and they have their fall, and the fall could be of anything. We don't even know what it is. But then when we look further into the word, and the word goes on, for me, I have a tower as a place of observatory. It's a place for you to see things from. When you're at a tower, or in a tower, you're up high. And when you're up high, you can see a lot. It's the same thing when I take a plane ride. I'm always amazed of how far down the ground is. And, when they say, well, now, we're cruising at 10,000 feet. And I'm saying 10,000 feet, that's high up. But then you have towers that are, 40 stories high, 60 stories high, 80 stories high. That's high. That's high, but it becomes an observatory, a place where you see from. It says a position or within a building that gives you extensive view. You can see everything, and it says it's basically becomes like a lookout. They said back in the day when they had various, forts that were built, some of the forts were built with these observatory areas where you could actually see what's going on below. You were above maybe the enemy, if it was one where there was, fighting. And it made it so that one person or persons had an advantage over those who were only on ground level. Ground level, that means everybody's at the same advantage. But if you have somebody that's up above or higher in terms of, having a tower and having a way to see other people, then that becomes an observatory. And so they said this observatory is a lookout. I know you remember in school that they always talked about in certain wars, there was a lookout, somebody that was up high and was looking out for others, if it was certainly just visual and not just in terms of, or any way to conceal them. For others, they were able to, peek out whatever they were doing. But it talks about it being like a tower, a lookout, a catbird. And I never heard of that until I found this. Good morning, Debbie. How are you, sweetie? Good morning. Good morning. Today our word is tower. We started with tumble. When you fall out from down from something that you're high up on, that is a tumble. And we're on the O now, and that's an observatory. Sometimes we realize that in order to be in a good position, we need to be able to observe what it is that we're looking at from a higher perch. And it says it could be a watchtower, it could be a crow's nest, promontory overlook, basically a way to see things. Good morning, Eurydice. Congratulations, you got a lot of stuff going on. Wonderful. Thank you for coming into my space with me. I appreciate it. Impressive. That's good. That's it. That's a good. When we look at the word tower, we're really looking at what's up there. Have you ever been in a tower? Have any of you ever been in a tower like that's really up high? Debbie, Loretta, Eurydice, that's what I see now. Joan, Gloria, have you ever been in a tower? They're really interesting. In fact, there's a weirdness for when I've been up really high, and I don't have, I guess it's called agoraphobia, where you're kind of afraid of being up really high. What did you say? I have, and I was scared to death. Okay, I got you. Yeah. For some people, that's true. That's very true that you could be scared. Now, somebody told me that they went someplace recently where it is a tower-like feeling, but it's all you're on the outside of the building on this see-through walkway. Uh, I can tell you right now, no. And I just think it opened in New York, maybe about a year ago, a little over a year ago. No, there's no way I would ever do that one. I don't want to, because if you look down, that's fear. That would give me fear. So, as I said, I don't have agoraphobia, but I think I would get it. She says, I'm going to say hell no. I say hell no too, Debbie. Okay. I say hell no. I couldn't do it. I just can't do it. I can do the Ferris wheel. I can still do that. There's a couple of other things that are really, really high that I won't do anymore. My daughter challenged me to do one with her, but it was going circular one way and then circular another way at the same time. So you were actually doing, oh man, I was sick for probably 3-4 hours after it had messed up my entire, equilibrium. I guess my inner ears or something had been just absolutely shook up. So no, if I'm stationary, I'm probably okay. Beyond that, it's an absolute no for me too. But anyway, when we move on in the word, my W in this instance is for watch. When you're in a tower, you have the ability to watch. I don't know what you're watching. You could be watching, everyone that looks like ants on the street if it's in a bigger city, or if it's something that gives you a vista of like the fall foliage, or off a bridge, it might be the water underneath it, something, the cars. So you're watching something. It says you're looking at or observing something. It's, basically attentively over a period of time. So you could watch it for a long period of time, or it could be shortened. But it's when observation goes on, when you can view it, when you can look at it in such a way that may even have it where you're gazing at things. Many of us gaze at stuff, especially if it doesn't give us fear. Like I'm one of those, I probably could say if it was between me to get from one side to the other side on that bridge that see through, then I would just not be able to look down. I wouldn't look down. I just have to go straight over the bridge and never ever look down, because if I look down, I'd probably be laying down on the bridge. Wilt is good. Whoa. Yes, that would be me. I'd be crawling on the bridge that's suspended over, and I don't know if it's over Death Valley, but it's over something. But to imagine that whoever did the bridge, to me, were brave people, because I couldn't see them putting a see-through walkway off of a bridge, and or off of a building that's 80 and 90 stories high. It's just crazy. It says, nope, you'd all have to walk over me. I'd be freeze up. I would too, Debbie. They'd probably be walking over me. They'd probably be pulling me, talking about, all right, Wendy, come on here, because you can't stay up here. I said, I can't come down. So I probably would definitely wilt, just like you're saying, Debbie. But when you watch something that says, you may take stock in it, you may glimpse at it, you may be looking as they did, like in the watchtowers, they used to spy. They used to be looking at who over there, what they doing, or might have a neighbor. We used to have a neighbor that used to sit, and all she did was look out her window, and her window was up really high, because I'm from New York, so they had those, like maybe 3 and 4 story, they were flats on each level. So she lived in a high 4-story, and she just looked down and tell everybody to get out the street and do this and do that. And of course, my mother would make us get right on back out there as she was cussing to tell us to do it. And we did. We scurried to make sure we did what she told us. When we move on the world, my E in tower is for elevate. Because when you think about anything that's a tower, it says it's already telling you that in order for you to really do anything with the tower, you have to go up it. And sometimes that's even in our own lives. In order for us to move higher in what it is that we want to do, we may have to study more. We may have to, have more experience behind us, read more, write more, something, you know, just be more involved in what it is that we want to be elevated in. You know, I always, marvel at the fact that people become experts in so many things. Well, the reason they do is because they elevate themselves and making sure it says to rise something up to a higher level or position or state is where they've been hoisted, boosted, lifted, buoyed up, upraised, and hauled up. And that's because there was a period where they actually, basically hone themselves to be a specialist, and sometimes that requires that they go back to school, get some certifications, get licensure, whatever it is, as they're going up and building up their tower. Remember what I said at the beginning. For those who didn't hear it, I said that sometimes when we look at our own lives, we may see that we formed a tower that we're good at. We're at the height of our tower, you know, at the height of our tower, because we've been able to garner all these things about us that put us up. And then we might do something, and that's where the T comes in, where we might tumble down from that. Only because, like I was talking about, the man that had the double life lived on Long Island and was killing young women. So you never know. You just never know what people have in their tower that could be hidden. But they work to elevate themselves to be at the top of who they are. So when we look at all of those things in our lives, just says Debbie says exit. Oh, city surveillance. Oh, city surveillance. I've heard of that. Yeah, when you can look around the city. Yes, yes. And I gotta admit, every once in a while I've lucked out and I've gotten a room with a view when I've been traveling, with various jobs or whatever, and I am absolutely amazed at what they charge for those views. Sometimes it's just that I ended up, it was the last room that they had, and they said, well, we'll still give it to you for the regular price. Well, thank you, I'm going to take it. It wasn't that I was paying anything extra for it. I don't have that kind of money, but I realized the beauty that some people that they see, that many of us will never see. We'll never see it because we can't afford it. Because some of those rooms may be, 3,000, 10,000, 20,000 a night. Well, it comes with everything, including a butler. I've never had that kind of service, but I'm saying I have been in decent rooms that are really high up, and the views have been absolutely priceless. And exit is just so good. I keep thinking about that because, exit comes also when we come down out of a tall tower. We come out, we exit, and sometimes we exit for a short period of time, maybe to refresh ourselves on what else we need to take up in our towers. And that's okay, because that's life. Sometimes we need to refresh, be able to say that our foundation is better than what it was. How many of us really think about the towers that we've gone into and how well they're sitting on their foundation? I think it was last week they were showing that they had a roller coaster, or the week before it might have been. The roller coaster had a huge crack in it and nobody knew it. But a father just happened to look up and said, wait a minute. Now here's something that's towering above, the amusement park that they're in, and takes all of the, the people on those roller coasters, using that tower as it's basically its foundation. and to see that part of it at the top that nobody looks at because they're looking from the ground level. They couldn't see it. He saw it and said, wait a minute, you have to stop this thing right now because there's a possibility that there could be just death if it decides to break. So we just never know. If you don't really know all of what the tower has, you know, you don't know if there's any breaks in it. You don't know if there's cracks. You don't know if there's fault lines, just like, when you're going to have an earthquake, something's, not right in a certain section. And then my R for my tower is reach. Where do we reach and who do we reach when we're in our towers? It says the extent of reach of application, affect, or influence. So as, educators, as, writers, as, painters, as there's a purpose in what it is that we do, because we don't just write for ourselves, or we don't just, what I would say, shore ourselves up for just us. We do it to have an opportunity where we can affect others, apply things to conversations, and be a matter of influence in some instance to somebody or somebody's. And so we talk about our reach. And I think in life, we really have to talk about how high we've gone in terms of the tower that makes us stand solidly at where we are. But also what view do we see? And if all we see is ourselves, that means that we're looking in the wrong direction. We have to look out. We can't look constantly in on ourselves and saying, well, this is what, this is who I am. Nobody, my mother always used to say, nobody's studying you. She used to tell us that when we were little. And then I have a girlfriend who says her dad and auntie say something about, ain't nobody thinking about you, anybody studying you. But it's probably a common little thing that Southern folks used to say to their children, or even each other. Ain't nobody thinking about you, gone now. But the reach is just what capabilities you offer. What do you bring with you? What capacity do you have to make yourself remain in your tower, remain tall, remain, steady, remain strong, having a reach, realizing the importance of observation. Because once again, you have to look out. And then it talks about what is the jurisdiction that you may be covering. Is it limited? What authority do you have to be in your tower? The sway that you have. To me, when I think about sway, I don't want the building to sway. And I am to tell you, when I lived in Italy for a while, we were on the 10th floor. Now, Italy is one of those countries that, especially we were off the boot in Sicily, and Sicily has Mount Etna, and Mount Etna used to blow her stuff. Okay, and when she did, she would do it in such a way that the molten rock you could see it just coming down the hill at night. Well, we were really up high in terms of that kind of topography. We were up high, but yet and still, that's what I wanted. I wanted to live up there. My husband said, "Okay, you can do it. Let's do it." But it was interesting because across the hall from us, it was a doctor. No, he was an architect and his wife and their little daughter, Maria Grazzi. And they just absolutely loved us because they were glad somebody else was up in that high floor. But it was high up for that kind of area. And I remember I slept through, I don't know how I did it, but I slept through an earthquake that affected that area. But then I slept through the earthquake, but then the next few hours after I woke up, I felt the aftershock. Okay, then I was scared. I went down, I took the baby, my daughter was little, we went downstairs on the ground. I said, well, I feel safer if I'm down here. I don't want to fall. I don't want to tumble from the tower that we lived in. And that's where I felt we were up high. Okay, Debbie wrote react, rotate, restabilize. Man, you got some good stuff. Oh, good stuff. Hey, Brenda. Hey, Sweet Pea from church. How are you, dear? Love you. Thank you for dropping in. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the good word. We want to have a good word. And then a reminder. Sometimes we do have to be reminded of where we've been, what we're doing. Is it a right choice? Do we need to come down sometimes from our high horses? Yes, we do. Do we need to get back to what is ground level in order for us to go back up? Because when I go back up, the coast got to be clear. Okay. Now, now water, I was thinking about this the other day because, it's rained so much in this area. All I was thinking about is like water, 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 water. Can I handle if water tries to get into the house, where would I go and all that kind of stuff? And all I kept thinking of is, well, I can go upstairs. But I know I'm too far from the water uh, coming off of the Gulf here. Well, actually, that's the bay on this side of me. I'm a good distance from the actual med, but beach isn't far. I'm probably only talking 10 miles to the beach. But rain, and it's rain. It's been like sometimes torrential rain in our area and all over actually the Northeast, and it's been here. We get rain. We've been rained on pretty much every day, probably for the past month. And when we get 4 inches, 5 inches at a time, that's a lot. That is a lot. But our reach should be just that. We need to understand that sometimes we have to shorten our reach so that we can get back to what is right and normal for us. So reach talks about our jurisdiction over the things that we can look at, what authority we have, what's our compass. Because sometimes we have to find out, do we have a compass? We've kind of lost it someplace along the way, because we may be trying to go up and we're not prepared to go up in our tower. We need to shut the upside of the tower down until we're ready to go back up there. We talk about the latitude, the area field, and the actual territory that we cover. And to me, this is like one of those messages that talks about the physical tower that we may see, and then the tower that we stand in. And, I look at my tower and I think of, these things. Do I want to tumble? No. But do I want to be able to be in a position where I've observed the things that I need to observe? Yes. Do I need to watch out for certain things? Absolutely. You need to look out to make sure that the fault lines haven't come in and that there's a snag and a tear and a rip and a possibility that the tower would sway and swag in some way. That means you. Then you look at what is my elevation, meaning how prepared am I to stay in the tower that I'm in? How prepared am I to move into another tower in terms of maybe this tower became too small and I was elevated? We have to also recognize when we've been elevated and why. And are we equally as prepared, for the next elevation that we get in terms of our towers? And then lastly, we need to know, what is my reach? I've changed towers. Has my reach increased? Has it decreased? Do I know who I am? Do I know my latitude, my longitude? My compass is where it's telling me where I need to be. So Debbie says reservations. I love that. That means you hesitate. Yes, I have some reservations. Okay, you just really you've done some great things. Debbie understands when she comes in here. She has her list of great words that add to my conversations with the audience. Debbie, you want to try it again and come in with me? Let me know. Maybe Friday we can pick a word. Hi, how are you? Good to have you in this space. Oh, you said reservations. Yes. Oh, I missed that. Yes, 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 yes. Yes. Well, look, reservations is good. I got reservations for Friday. Who wants to take them? That means you and I will select a word privately and we'll come on and give it to whoever comes into our session that day, asking questions. You tell me yours. Because to me, sometimes you can come up with the same response that others do. And sometimes your response has its own great stuff in it, you know. But I would love any of you to come on with me and let's just do it, as they say. Listen, come Wednesday, I'll be back. I'll be back with another word, but I want you to take care of your tower. Where are you rising from? Try not to tumble if you can. Hey there, sweet pea. Hi, Erica. Love you, girl. Look at your what you can observe and be honest about it. What do you really see? That's your watch. If you're on watch, what are you observing? What are you really seeing? How does it pertain to you? Have you been elevated too high or you need to come down some? Realize that. And lastly, what reach do you have? What's out there? What's your reach? What's your compass level? What's your territory? I remember years ago we did this thing called Jabez. Look up, I think it's Jabez, and he wanted his expand my territory, and sometimes we don't even realize that we have territory that could take on some expansion, but we don't think about it in that context. We think about, well, I got this, and that's enough. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You may have more to give to others, but they don't know you because you've not reached outside your little bit of territory and you got more to cover. So have a good, good, good Monday. Look at your tower. I'm going to see you on Wednesday. And if someone wants to come with me on Friday, just let me know. We'll work it out. It'll be so much fun. You can DM me and we'll go from there. Okay. I love you guys. I appreciate you so much for coming in. And we're going to do what we do. Okay. Tower to tower. Love you. Thanks. Bye-bye. Have a good. Be safe.